So what have you found from these years of experience about what makes most humans tick? Is there any common thread between any of these, all of your companies, that in some ways brings it all together and like is still serving in some ways a common mentality or purpose?
Yes. For starters, we mentioned this concept of experiential startup. You take hospitality. There's well over 5,000 liquor licenses in the city of Chicago. Whereas perhaps in the past, going to a restaurant was perhaps nourishment or sustenance. It was a warm meal or a cold pint. It's way more than that now. Now it is a experience, and there's so much optionality that it's everybody's had a really great burger. Why should I come to your place? And so what I really try to hone in on is I can't be everything to everyone.
Right.
But I can imagine that everyone is here for some reason, whether it's a after work, meeting with an associate, or a 20th anniversary, or grandma's birthday, or a long week, or a really tragic life occurrence where you just need to get out. We, in all of our meetings, are focused in training staff to read body language and understand that, most times people are coming out to have a memorable experience. We're not there to be their memorable experience.
Right.
We're there to heighten their memorable experience. That is, if you approach any business of retail, I'd recently gotten into cannabis. I know nothing about it. I don't really like it as a user. I've tried it, but it's a retail experience. And there's going to be in this state a lot of dispensaries that are opening up as they release more and more licenses. So it's the same exercise. Forget that I'm not a subject matter expert on it or am a developed user necessarily, but that really wouldn't matter. What the focus is bringing in these, elevating the consumer's experience. So one way to sort of, if we were to have titles to each of these segments, maybe the answer to your question for me would be what versus why. I think about what versus why. It's my own sort of, I wouldn't call it a defense mechanism, but it's something for me to, it's on my checklist to make sure I've addressed it. Everyone can tell you what they do. What is it that you do? Well, we can all answer. I'm an analyst, I'm a nurse, what do you do? I'm a lawyer. Why are you doing it? You shouldn't have to pause. Unless your pause is because you're formulating a concise and efficient answer. But the why you do it is your purpose, and it is your passion. And if you can't explain, if I can't convince you why I'm doing something, if the three of us were to partner up on a new venture and I pitched my idea, I pitched what it was, if I couldn't convince you the why, well then we kind of have the answer as to whether we should pursue it. And it's so simple, but the why is meaty. That's where the meat of it really is. So the why we're doing something is, and where that passion stems from, on a retail basis, is definitely from the consumer experience.
Have you noticed, or are you targeting those sectors of society that people will be willing to pay for an elevated experience?
Yeah. I mean, the difference between, I'm going to make sure I get this right, Gen X, Millennial, Gen Z, which is going to be, I don't know, 16 to 50, is significant. That's not a very earth-shattering premise. However, based on the product, I have to decide who I'm gearing this toward. And rare is if I were to own the bulls, I might very easily cast a net wide enough for X, Millennial, and Z. But if we're talking about, a specific product or retail experience, and if we are imagining whether I'm sort of highlighting or targeting somebody for the elevated, absolutely. And I think no matter what our product is, and whether it was spring break, whether it was painting, I'll keep it in there, or hospitality, cannabis, clothing, or UIUC free food, there might be what would be the valuable economic consideration is imagining a premium subscription, where you're only talking to a much more narrow. But to me, everything is about, if we were to launch our company in the first semester, we did $10,000, all I'd want to talk about is saying, okay, let's say we don't increase our usership at all. Let's say we just maintain our usership, that our users come back. That's pretty good. Now, let's focus on that $10,000. I want to increase revenue. Zuckerberg just said it. I told you this was my third podcast this week, so I'm trying not to overlap conversation because it drowns out content. But Zuckerberg had recently just talked about the year of efficiency, and really what he was talking about is, as a result of the pandemic and given the massive size of our user base, we're probably not going to increase that much from 3.74 billion people. But I do, as an obligation to my shareholders, have to imagine how I'm going to increase my revenue. He's going to do it through efficiency. That's where we're seeing all the layoffs, right? Okay, I don't know if my revenue is going to go up, but I'm going to increase my net by becoming more efficient. Musk is doing it. He's laying everybody off. Everybody's just laying off in tech because they're tightening the belt. Our consideration may be, how are we going to increase revenue with the same number of users? And that might be through premium subscription. AMC just announced yesterday.
Like the cost per seating.
Yeah, the cost per seating, right. I think they're saying, okay, our consumer base is X. We're projecting a 2 or 1% increase. Maybe it's stagnant. How can we increase the sort of revenue? I love those conversations. That's where it's really fun. Where you already have a product in the marketplace. It's breathing. It's living. It's daily. How can I increase my revenue through some sort of premium add-on? Is that
right?
Yeah.